John Volanthen is a diving officer for the British Cave Rescue Council. He played a key role in the rescue of the Thai youth soccer team back in 2018, and he joins us now live. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN. As we reported just a moment ago, and of course you well know, a military diver in the Maldives has died while searching for the victims. Could you please tell us about just the level of difficulty for this recovery mission?
Well, firstly, I'd like to offer my condolences to all of those who knew the Italian divers and also, of course, the military rescue diver, Mohammed Mahdi. His death was the outcome, I guess, of a selfless act looking for that overdue party. The dive is potentially very, very difficult. In diving, depth generally equals danger, and being deep in a cave adds to that quite significantly. You mentioned maze-like. We understand the cave is a series of three rooms on the seabed, and so trying to enter that cave with the depth and also the potential silt and difficulty is what's unquestionably hampering the rescue efforts or the recovery efforts. It's essentially a very long way into the cave, and normally cave divers would lay a guideline to find their way into the cave, and that's potentially what happened with the missing party.
Yeah, what we learned from, we heard from the Italian foreign minister is that the divers died when they tried to explore these caves at depths around 50 meters or around 164 feet. A number of risks involved for a dive at this depth. I wanted to ask you about currents and siphon effects. And could tidal currents play a role in pulling and catching a diver off guard?
I think that's unknown at the moment. What I would say is that cave diving and diving in general is a relatively safe activity, provided the divers stick within their experience and also their equipment. But it appears here there's a potential that the divers have gone significantly beyond their experience and also the equipment they were carrying.
Yeah, cave diving, as you said, can be a safe activity, but there are risks that could happen along the way. And again, investigation is underway. We're not trying to hypothesize here, but to understand the risks, could we talk about, for example, psychological distress or a panic attack? Is something like that something that could affect a team underwater?
Certainly, panic is something that can affect anyone whilst diving. As you start to increase the depth, factors such as the air that is breathed starts to become narcotic, and that makes not just panic more likely, but it also makes it more likely that you're inebriated or essentially unable to control yourself. That narcosis effect gets significantly stronger if you're breathing air, which we understand the divers that were lost are. And so as you start to go deeper, that narcosis effect potentially could create panic, but also would make them less likely to be able to find their way out. And also, again, if the cave becomes silty, as is normal for this type of cave, if you touch the walls or the floor, finding the way out becomes much more difficult.
Yeah, and of course, sir, you are no stranger to high-risk diving and cave diving. And as you point out, it can be a safe activity. So what is the preparation required for a safe cave dive? In practical terms, what do divers need to best prepare themselves, especially for a dive like this?
I would perhaps turn it on its head and say that most of the incidents that I've been aware of are a series of small decisions. It's not one big dramatic problem underwater. Usually an incident like this starts with a series of small decisions, sometimes that even start on the shore or on the boat or out of the water. And as things start to go awry, it's trying to avoid making those small decisions. So a lot of the safe cave diving is really in the planning.
Yeah, so a cave dive is a series of small decisions, and you have to make the right decision all along the way, along with your crew, with your team. And you must have had a few close shaves underwater. Could you think of and share with us a time when something went wrong, but you managed to make that right decision and problem solve your way to safety?
I would suggest talking about the Thai cave rescue. There was a large team and a large series of good decisions amongst our team that eventually led to the safe outcome of that particular rescue. I would say as a series of good decisions and also very careful planning, that rescue stands out. as something that can be achieved when good decisions are made, when people are working within their comfort zones and they're not at their limits.
Yeah. John Volanthen, thank you for sharing your expertise with us. And of course, at the top, thank you for expressing your condolences to the families of the victims. We appreciate that. Take care, sir.
Thank you.